All right, lions and lionesses, let's bring it on in. Here they come. As we get closer and closer to the end of whatever beginning, we're going to have a little more fun. All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started here. Lions, lions everywhere. Whether you think you're a lion or not, the fact is there's a lion within us all. I'm Paul Romero, your fun loving host and writing candidate for governor. And I'm so happy to live in a country where my rights don't end, where somebody else's feelings begin. Now, Twitter has become a sanctuary for free speech. I know. We never thought that happened in our lifetime. But you can imagine all the woke people losing their collective mind. Yes, collective mind, singular. You ever think about all the misunderstood people through the years, right? Generation X, heck, even baby boomers were misunderstood for the longest time. Generation X, because they didn't even know how to label us, but we became extreme. Way better name than baby boomers, right? Well, remember the emo kids, right? We called them the emu kids, but they were all about being nonconformists, except within their group. So, in fact, they were very much conformists, just on a smaller scale. Or were they? Now, where have all the emo kids gone? Now, we see far left trans activists attacking people on the street. Why? They just aren't happy that we all won't join in on their skewed perspective and their own idea of cognitive problems. Yeah. Their gender dysphoria and what have you. Now, what makes these two very different, right? What do you think? Okay. So let's find out which group you most closely resemble, right? Oh, you're going to be surprised at this one. So let's dive into this a little bit. So we're all pretty much painfully aware of the current trans movement, which even the LGBTQ movement looks to be dropping the T, as in LGBTQ. Well, truth is, wow, that actually even sounds better, doesn't it? So I'm going to make a prediction you're all going to more easily relate to. The emo kids. Yeah, that's right. Hear me out. Got to hear this. So we all think we kind of knew or know who they are. And the origin of the word emo comes from the 1980s alternative hardcore rock music and is closely associated with punk bands and indie scene music. Many people saw the emo as an offshoot of the hardcore goth or punk scene, but it has its own subculture and style. Now, while the emo scene is most popular with teenagers, many preteens and kids are incorporating it into their personal style as well. However, defining an emo kid can be, well, actually kind of hard. This is because each different emo has their own unique style and individuality, but there are a few commonalities that you can find among the subculture. Now, usually we can spot one, right? Dark hair, very straight, very short, very dark makeup, eyeliner type things like that. And of course, nowadays there's been a lot more hardware in people's faces, which I'm sorry. There are better ways to make yourself look attractive or to get attention without putting a ring in your nose or something. Now, while founded on punk and indie music, emo music is distinctive and is generally referred to as emotive hardcore or emotional hardcore, and includes lyrics and melodies that evoke emotional responses and commiseration from fans. So the beginnings of the emo music can be traced to a couple of groups, the Rites of Spring, the Get Up Kids, the Dashboard Confessional, groups that I have no clue who they are. But current bands like My Chemical Romance and Fall Out Boy are also considered emo, which I actually kind of know some of those. And while some bands will reject the tagline for the emo crowd, the fact is lyrics and music of the songs are confessional and cover topics like self-loathing, insecurity, failed romance. Wait a minute. It's funny. I started thinking about this. See, failed romance. Wow, that's like in pretty much every music genre, right? Country music, definitely. What about insecurity? Hmm. Yeah, I can honestly say insecurity is pretty much throughout them all. Yeah. The self-loathing part, I guess it could be argued that's in a lot of different things in some music. But the simple fact is, the emo style or fashion, it's not really, that's not unique. The fact is, every generation goes through some form of all these things. So the emo kids really aren't that different in who they really are underneath, but what they show on the outside, that changes. I remember growing up and what half shirts and all the really colorful stuff and the tight fitting leather stuff. There was that '80s type of stuff that was coming out, especially with MTV, and that just spawned everything from the punk rock to you name it, and everything in between. It was really pretty awesome, and I'm really kind of thankful that I got to live through that beginning. That was kind of neat. Now, I guess the biggest thing I want to point out to people is this: is that with any group, if I'm going to represent a whole big conglomerate of people, I have to make an honest effort to actually understand them, right? And if I can't relate to them, I can't very well represent them. But what I'm learning is that there's way more common ground than you'd think. And most people, we take a look at these young people and they go, "Oh gosh, they're idiots. They don't know what they're doing." Of course, no one's ever said that about us, right? Oh, wait a minute, they have. This is the way we kind of put some things in perspective. We kind of lose touch with our youth, right? And part of my life has been, well, no, keep your youth. There's nothing that says you can't keep it. Keep moving. Get involved. Um, I'm not saying go out and do drugs or do anything that you don't want to do. But what I'm saying is that sometimes it's best when you're looking at the younger generations as the opportunity for you to impart wisdom. The simple fact is, if you're going to be old man Smithers down on the corner yelling and screaming at kids, "Stay off my lawn," well, that's not going to work. Okay. But what's amazing is that, and I'm hoping to maybe convey that message to the younger people out there, is that there's an awful lot of our experience that basically is the same as theirs, a little different time, maybe a few different aspects, maybe a little different clothes or makeup, whatever it is. But the fact is, fundamentally, at its base, oh yeah, we've all been through it. Whether it was not being able to talk to girls, or not being part of the cool kids, or not be part of the right cliques or whatever. These are things we all go through. They are no different. And if they want to revel in their differences, well, that lends itself to the whole diversionary tactics of cultural Marxism. And too many times, whether you're trans or whatever these people are, it's your choice. The problem is if you try to infringe and force it on others. That's where, I'm sorry, you draw the line, and if you already crossed the line, well, it's going to be kind of a Thunderdome situation. And we don't want it to go that far. But I guess for all of us that are experienced, baby boomers, Gen Xers, what have you, is that we need to look and pay attention to the younger generations. We really do. And and I know we can. We are probably, Generation X is probably best equipped and prepared for it, to be honest. Just a lot of people haven't taken the time to stop and look at it for what the real underlying stuff is. We see just the surface. We don't see anything underneath it. The fact is, it's the same thing. It's no different. Teenage angst, all that, guess what? It's still the same. It has not changed. But the technology around us, that has changed. From Twitch streams and Tinder and all these crazy different deals. Let me tell you what, you're never going to hear about me at my front yard in my underwear, maybe my bathrobe, helping my wife water flowers or something. But the fact is, I'll be wearing clothes of some kind. Yeah, and we won't get a call 2 o'clock in the morning to the police. No, no, we're gonna leave that to Paul Pelosi. Yeah. And as Elon Musk said, there's a little bit more to this story that is going to be coming out. So none of it looks good for those people. It's literally like they can't quite stop digging the hole that is going to become their burial plot. It gets pretty crazy out there. But let's go ahead here and do a little greetings here. You notice that the crowd's getting a little smaller. That's okay. This is pretty normal happening. I know there's people hunting too. But we got Mr. Wilson in the house, Stephen, hey Pat, and Miss Terry, Jace's mom, and Miss Shauna, good to see you, and of course Miss Jennifer out of Tillamook, and probably a few other people that may not want to pipe in or talk or say something, but that doesn't matter. We'll just continue on. So I guess you know for a lot of emotional kids, the emo types, they like their fashion, their music. They embrace their lifestyle, right? The thing is, they believe it or not, they're into poetry. It can be a little depressing sometimes, but we all went through Edgar Allan Poe and all that stuff. Whether it's drawing, artistic type stuff, the fact is, they do have artistic talents, and they're all trying to find their way in the world, and they're trying to do it without any real mentoring. That's probably one of the biggest gaps between that element in these younger generations and all of us, that missing mentor, right? And the thing is, all of us have gone through these things, whether we were the popular kid in school or not, which I wasn't a popular kid. I was just a social kid, and smart, and did some sports. So I kind of saw myself as really just kind of average in school, but I really liked people and made an effort to get along with people until people chose to not get along with me. Then I drew that line in the sand. Two men enter, one man leaves. But I didn't start it. So with whatever music they might like at the time, I can only imagine what my youngest niece is gonna like music wise across the board. But it's just part of the evolution of each generation. But they're still based. They still come from the same place. So remember that. Now, as I said, part of representing people is understanding them. And our youth say, I'm going to call it 40 and under, although I consider myself at 56 a pretty youthful, fun, and sometimes goofy 56-year-old. Really, for us men, we're kind of fortunate. We can be kids like our entire life. And that's part of our boyish charm, I suppose. At least that's what my wife tells me. But these are the kinds of things we need to be aware of and cognizant of. And remember this: is don't ever think you're so old to not do something or not understand something or get involved in something. In this day and age, with the internet and things that are available there's so much more that we can pick and choose from. But a lot of people don't even know it's there, but it is. So seek some of that stuff out. So something I want to bring up. Some of y'all may have received this in your mail, right? And let me make sure I got this on the screen. And I'm going to take a couple things off here real quick. Let's go kill that and that. Open it up. Okay, so here we go. Right? Time is running out to return your ballot. Oh no! Because throughout history, we've always turned in our ballots way early. Oh, wait a minute. No, we didn't. That's right. We turned them in on election day. We all went to our precincts and we voted. Yeah. What's really interesting is this: it's hard to know who's putting this stuff out. And one of the things it says, it calls the Honest Elections Project in Alexandria, Virginia. And return your ballot by 8 p.m. on November 8th. Well, that's fine. But their goal is its time is running out to return your ballot. Now, I appreciate the fact they want people to get their ballots in. Here's the deal, though. They want you to get it in early, and I'll tell you why. Because when you turn your ballot in early, this little thing right here, right? Okay. When you turn that in early, it helps them to figure out who didn't vote and what votes they might be able to cheat and slide into the system. That's the reality. Okay. So don't turn in your vote until November 8th on the day of election day. That's the day you turn it in. Now, I know in some places they're accepting ballots after that voting. That is bunk bull. It should never happen. It should never occur. It should be illegal. And I think at some point in our future, it will very certainly become illegal. I know as governor, oh yeah, we're going to have a single voting day. If you qualify for a mail-in ballot, which is going to be a narrow area, then you'll have a certain date that it needs to be mailed by so that it arrives before that date. But it won't be very much before that date. It's going to be a pretty tight window for some people. But still, it needs to happen this way. But fundamentally, most of us, hey, we can have a voting holiday, something I proposed, and hopefully some smart people in the legislature will actually step up and get some of these things done. Contract with Oregon is not about me. The contract with Oregon is about Oregon. and about the things that the people of Oregon want, period, and need. And people that are going into the legislature, if they haven't read my contract with Oregon, Secretary of State, doesn't matter. If they haven't read it and aren't geared for that, they're the problem. And we need to recall them and put somebody else in office. So when you're talking to people, let them know, please don't turn in your ballot until election day. Now, something I saw, I got to go back to Oregon Catalyst. They were talking about low voter turnout. This is awesome for me. Now, I warned about this, okay? Because see, Christine Drazen, she only secured like 22, 23% of the primary vote, which was only about 85,000 votes. 73% of Republicans didn't vote for her, guys. And they won't vote for Betsy Johnson, even though Bridget Barton has jumped on the Betsy Johnson train. Bridget Barton didn't do very well herself. Actually, way less, way worse. I want to say around 5 or 6% or something like that. But this is the kind of stuff you have to be aware of. Low voter turnaround. So here's the deal. Get your friends, your family, your neighbors. Number one, especially consider writing me in as your governor candidate, Paul Romero. But at the same time, turn them in on election day. Not before, not after, on election day. Again, this is a way for us to prevent them from stealing our election, make it more difficult for them to do that. So be aware, be awake, and we'll all be better off. Hey, Miss Loma, glad to see you're not in Facebook jail in the slammer. Hey, Mr. Barry. Thank you, Pat. I appreciate that. I think the ballot box is safe for drive to the courthouse to turn them in. It depends on where you're at. I mean, I know in some places you don't have the courthouse isn't in your town. They do have drop box areas in there, but they're designated. They've been there for a long time. They should be well lit. There really should be a camera on all these. That way, there's always security on them. And we only need it for a short period of time when those things are unlocked and you're able to drop them in there. So, yeah, just get that ballot in there maybe the day before or that day of, and I think you should be totally fine with your drop off. Again, you know, it's like when we start, people are talking about mail being dumped in a river. Yeah. Well, it's real simple, easy to find out who had the route on those couple of days or all those days. And then go have a talk with them. How did your mail? I didn't do it. I delivered that mail. Okay. Well, next thing is start checking people's Ring doorbells and see what video might be out there about who's pulling stuff out of mailboxes. And by the way, yes, that happens. It still happens because people go in there trying to steal checks or who knows what might be coming through the mail. That is just a reality of our world, unfortunately. Okay. So then there's this other little thing I got, right? Taxpayers Voters Guide sponsored, created by the Taxpayers Association of Oregon, PAC, which is actually OregonWatchdog.com. Now, as you know, they are also connected with Oregon Catalyst, who does report some pretty good news, and I've mentioned that before. Now, the thing that struck me on this is, you know, they kick these things out. And by the way, this is a brilliant ploy, and I got to admit, if I had the money to afford this, or they were going to support me as a writing candidate, I'd love to see my name on this because a lot of Oregonians will take this card and they'll just say, okay, yeah, okay, yep, done. Their opinion? No. Taxpayer Association of Oregon, Oregon Watchdog, yeah, their opinion, yes. Now, here's what's really struck me as interesting. Governor, yeah, Drazen, no big deal. We expect that. Bureau of Labor, Sherry Helt. By the way, Sherry Helt is also a Solomon U up-and-comer. He's been working her through certain little things to help her get to where he wants her. And being the BOLI, the Bureau of Labor and Industry, yeah. So the answer is no. We may have to suffer the other person, but it's supposed to be a nonpartisan position. And I really couldn't tell you much about the other person because I'd not seen anything on the other person at all. Congress, congratulations to Cliff Bentz. Can't support that at all, guys. But the fact is, there is nobody else. Congressional District 4, Alex Scalados. Guys, listen. Alec, I got to admit, and I stated this, is that when I first met him, the guy couldn't talk his way out of a parking ticket, um, subject matter, anything like that. And I got to admit, now he's better prepared for that. And obviously, has been working on it, so that's a good thing. However, it doesn't change the fact. A question I get asked is this: what qualifies you to be the governor? Well, there's only really two qualifications I need. Number one, American citizen. Number two, a resident of Oregon. That's it. That's the qualification requirements for governor. What about Congress? American citizen, not necessarily first generation. There's some things there, but and we've been dealing with those. But and well, an Oregon citizen. Well, however, unless you're Ron Wyden and you live over in the East Coast, somehow he's been able to slide that one by because there's no requirement that you actually stay living in the state, which is a problem because it should be that way no matter what. Now, for Congressional District 5, Lori Chavez de Reamer. And I think that is based on what I can see, what I've read, what I know, which is limited, by the way, that looks like a pretty good bet. Now, what's interesting is that they don't have a Congressional District 1, 3, or 6. Well, Congressional District 3 is Joanna Harbor. Now, Joanna Harbor, guys, listen, she's the right person, to be honest, for that place. She is. Now, mind you, I've seen some of her comments about how somehow I'm disrupting the governor's race by being a write-in candidate and it's a waste of time and everything else. I'm really disappointed to see that kind of defeatist mentality or attitude out of her. And at some point when I see her next time, we're going to have that conversation. She's not going to want to have it, but we're going to have it. The fact is this, people, when you vote, you should vote who you feel is the best candidate based on what you know. Now, it's unfortunate if not everybody in Oregon knows about the candidate. I digress. Simple fact is you still have to have a certain amount of funds to propagate that. But Joanna Harbor's not on here, and she should be. Yeah, I have a problem with that. Their Oregon Taxpayers Association of Oregon PAC and Oregon Watchdog, and then, like I said, there's nobody there for District 1 and none for 6. Yeah, I take issue that they're not even picking somebody. Obviously, those people aren't quite in line with maybe the Solomon U element. Statewide voter ballot measures. Now, boy, I had a real problem with this. The simple answer to all 4 ballot measures is no. That's 111, 112, 113, and 114. No, 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 and no. That's it. It's not even a question. And yet, these goobers, Taxpayers Association of Oregon PAC and OregonWatchdog.com here, yeah, there's a problem. These guys said no on 11, which amends the Constitution, that the state must ensure affordable health care access balanced against requirements to fund schools and other essential. Yeah, no, it is not their place. Affordable health care is just going to have to exist on its own. It cannot be a federal or state mandated thing. It is not a right. But the fact that they've created all these problems that literally have caused healthcare to go up in price, of course, they don't want to take the blame for that. They're going to blame everything but themselves. Either way, it's still no. And part of the deal, this is an effort to push a statewide healthcare system where your private insurers all go away. You pay up to 15% of your gross income in additional state taxes. Oh, and then they tell you, oh, but your healthcare will be free. It's not free, guys. That's a lie. They're wasting your money. That's what they're doing. So then we go to 112. 112, they chose not to give a response. Well, that's odd. Because see, 112 is about amending the Constitution that removes language allowing slavery and involuntary servitude as punishment for crime. Here's the deal. You don't want to do the punishment, then you don't do the crime. It's really pretty simple. And if you end up doing the crime and you incur the subsequent punishment, then perhaps maybe you should be the one footing the bill while you're in prison, getting 3 hots and a cot, right? Yeah. So this involuntary servitude. Oh, come on, guys. No, we are not going to remove that from our Constitution because it is not meant as a slavery thing. You can't go buy a prisoner and then have them come work in your yard. And the projects and things they work on, all that stuff within the prison to keep things up and running, minimize costs, right? That way, the cost of that prison isn't coming out of yours and my pocket. Because see, we didn't do any crime. We don't deserve any punishment, but the guys who did do. Therefore, my attitude: you want to keep the lights on? I say some pedal power might be employed. That's right. When they want to go work out at the gym, oh, yeah, get on that bike. Yep. You run that bike for so long, and that gives you your power to your cell for the day. Why not? Hey, they're all about going green, right? How much greener can you get? Okay. So then we continue on to ballot measure 113. And once again, painfully absent. That's right. So they didn't say anything about this one. And again, I'm surprised because this amends the Constitution where the legislators with 10 unexcused absences from 4 sessions disqualified from holding next term of office. Now, why did they try to pass this measure? Why are they trying to get us to go with it? Because, see, they want to take away the walkout. Whenever, the original cap and trade deal, the original New Green Deal, all that stuff, we walked out on it. They didn't have a quorum. They couldn't even vote on the bill. That's how bad it was. See, the Democrats, they controlled our House, they controlled our Senate, and as such, they have been dictating policy without even including Republicans in the conversation. It's like, we don't even need you guys. Just show up at the meeting so we can cast the vote. We got this all covered. That's what they did. So this allows them to literally punish the very people that we elect to go into those places. See, the only person that should be able to recall or remove one of our legislators are those people in that district, House district, Senate district, whatever. Those are the only people that should be able to remove them. Okay, just shy of them breaking a major criminal law and going through all kinds of stuff like that, in which case it should be up to us to elect someone to take their place. This should not be up to all the other legislators in the legislation, in the legislator to decide this for us. We picked our representatives, they stand. The people that were also selected don't get to pick and choose. It's really simple. But yet, these goobers don't have an opinion. Guys, don't trust these guys. Listen, Oregon Catalyst, I like, they do a lot of great reporting here in Oregon. They really do. And I trust that. But Taxpayers Association of Oregon PAC and the Oregon Watchdog, they got money out the wazoo. They pay themselves pretty well. And you got to go look up who exactly is in these organizations, who's actually been running them for a while, what they get paid. Yeah, it's a pretty good deal over there. So they're not hurting by no means. And they have their agenda, obviously. Okay, and then we have the Measure 114, and that's the whole more infringement on the Second Amendment. Well, thankfully, they said no. Good job, guys. You got 2 out of 4 right. Wait a minute. That's 50%. I think that's a D. I think that's maybe a fail. F. Yeah, that's a fail, guys. So your only chance of getting that right is at least have answered yes on one of the other 2, and then you would have been at least a passing grade of a C. So no, you guys fail in this regard. Now they go on talking about some local ballot measures, no Josephine sales tax, and the thing is for Josephine County, my attitude is this: you're paying income tax, you're about to maybe pay more income tax for your health care, and you also have federal tax, and then you have property tax, and yeah, let's go ahead and add on top of all that some more sales tax. That sounds wonderful, right? They can't manage the money we give them now. They overspend everywhere. They do not think about reducing a budget or actually behaving in a fiduciary manner. This is a problem for all of us. Doesn't matter what county. The answer is right. And at this point for sales taxes, no. Why? They already have the taxes. They've already overtaxed every part of the state of Oregon. To add sales tax on top of it, which by the way, technically we already have sales tax. Gasoline sales tax. They don't call it that. Alcohol tax. Oh yeah. They're still getting sales tax slid into there, but most people in Oregon don't know it. Then Lincoln County has a hotel tax increase. Oh my gosh, this what is the tax? It actually is a sales tax for oh come on, what is the word they use? I hate it. Transient tax. That's what it's called, the transient tax. So if you go stay at the Best Western overnight while you're traveling around Oregon, yeah, you're going to pay a transient tax. Yeah, guys. See, they're sliding sales tax on us all over the place. It's got to be an either or. And for me, as you know, I'm going to kill income tax. I'm going to kill property tax. We're going to go to a sales tax. And that way, even illegal immigrants operating in the state will be paying it. And then so will be everybody that passes through the state. That's only fair, right? Okay. And then the other thing, of course, is want to try to keep sales tax off of essential things for food, things that people really need, can't live without type thing. So that's the goal and ambition. And in the course of that, it also requires a certain element of reduction on the budget when we spend money. But right now, we spend so much money through the general fund that's not actually part of a budget. It goes unchecked. That has got to stop. So then they had a list of state lawmakers. They only had two for Senate. District 3 and 16, Randy Sparacino and Suzanne Weber. And state lawmakers only had, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Wow. 11 for House District. And, right off the bat, I look at all these, you see recognizable names. Virgil Osborne for House District 2. Yes, I support Virgil 100%. Lily Morgan, Christine Goodwin, Kim Whalen, Boomer Wright, although Boomer's has been a little off on some things. Celeste McEntee, Brian Stout, Cyrus Javadi, Werner Reschke. Dude, we need term limits. Emily McIntyre. And then we have David Brock Smith. No. Well, wait a minute. That's House District 1. That's where I live. Wait a minute. Surely I didn't vote for that clown. No, I didn't. Yep, I actually wrote somebody else in. Okay, so here's $1 million question, guys. Why? What's wrong with David Brock Smith? To be honest, up until recently, I didn't even think there was any real problem with him. And then I found out his major connection with the Oregon-China Council and all his photographs of his personage. Yeah, at all these nice little Oregon-China Council meetings with a whole lot of Chinese. And it would also appear that they took a trip to China for this too. So it's so nice when you're House representative for your district. I mean, come on. House District 2 here in Douglas County, Roseburg, Oregon. Do we need our House district representative to go represent us in China? No. I'm hoping he paid for the trip. Yeah, because I don't see there being any legitimacy to that at all. How has he worked for anything or done anything that would be involving China and goods back and forth, especially when the federal government deals with all the tariffs and things like that, trade agreements? Yeah, I think that's kind of stepping out of bounds. But fundamentally, the Oregon China Council supposedly is supposed to be about fostering good relationship and good business practices between us and them. And the simple fact is this: what I know about China is this: they don't do anything that's fair to both parties. They find a way to beat you, whatever it is. And they count on you being stupid and being ignorant and being naive. So I would say for those people that have been supporting the Oregon China Council and all elements of that, as well as the Chinese Communist Party buying up land, property, farms, ranches, water rights here in Oregon. Oh, don't forget their Chinese cartel drug operation just got busted. All those profits were going back to China, Chinese Communist Party. Think about it. How does that help Oregonians? The answer is it doesn't. And the problem then becomes, well, who all supports the Oregon China Council? Well, it used to be they had a list of people in our legislature and everybody else that's elected and what they supported, and that they supported that organization. And it was a long, huge list. But now that list has kind of conveniently vanished from their website. So who supports it? Betsy Johnson, Tina Kotek, Christine Drazen, Well, maybe that's why they haven't said a single thing about China in all their debates, in any of their questioning, in any of their accusations. None of it. Guys, this is going to be a bad time for Oregon over the next 4 years with either one of any one of those three, without a doubt. And the only thing I can say is this: please make that extra effort to talk to anybody you know about considering writing me in. Read my contract with Oregon on the website, romeroforegon.com, and we can make this happen. And if we end up with an actual low voter turnout, that's even better. You know, it won't take a whole lot to win, to be honest, but we're going to see. And somebody said that they're really concerned that my votes would peel away Drazen, and my answer is very simply: Drazen doesn't have them. She doesn't really actually have votes now. All the polls put her in the lead. Well, see, they don't add my name to those polls. They don't ask people for that. So, to be quite honest, the people they're calling, the people they're asking, are largely the people that are going to vote for her. And I'm a little concerned because, like I said, Democrats way outnumber Republicans. Are usually very much more loyal to them. But we're also watching the ballots. We're watching for cheating in every possible way. And numbers don't lie. The actual algorithms, the actual formulas they use to check and make sure everything's right, they don't lie. They don't have an opinion. They just report data. And now that we've basically shined a big bright light on that big bed of cockroaches, whew, and any one of them that's thinking about putting their foot back out in the light, we're on to you. There's people that were not meant to go to jail. There are people that we don't handle jail because they themselves are not generally criminals until they're dealing with something they think they can get away with. And think about how many people don't brag about all the election fraud they participated in. And then think about the few that did. And the few that did, well, they're being prosecuted. Those that didn't are just praying to God. Nobody notices what they did. So, all right, let's go step over here. If at all possible, please turn your ballots into the county clerk's office. But for some people that live way out of town, that may be a little more difficult. Preloaded ballot boxes like Pennsylvania already. Yeah, roughly 8 ballots in the box as it's being set up. Wow. And those ballots, I have to wonder if maybe they were, late ballots dropped off last cycle. Yeah. Hey, Miss Caroline, good to see you here. Thank you. I appreciate that. Mr. Flanders, hey, Dale. According to Oregon Family Council Voters Guide, Brent T. Barker looks best for Boley. Well, the good news is that's who I voted for. Yeah. Whoa. Interesting. Why wouldn't he be on the ballot? Huh. Somebody might want to let him know, or although I'd like to think that he does know. So it wasn't I figured he was the second person. Okay. Do I know of any write-ins for judge of the Court of Appeals, position 10 or 11, Barry? No, I don't. And here's the problem. What is the deal with judges? None of them really come out and tell you who they are. They don't campaign. They rarely have any signage up anywhere. They rarely have opposition. So here's something that I'm going to do. Between November and the next cycle, we're going to go nail down every election there is in the state, every job, everything, everyone that has to be voted on. And we're going to go out and we're going to seek people to fill these jobs, people that will step in there and actually do it the right way, that will go in prepared, knowing what is right, what is not right, and basically to make a big change. If we want to really change our state, we can't just do it at the top level. We got to do it throughout the whole thing. So keep that in mind. Will the sales tax increase? I'm pretty confident that they lie to us about sales tax. They make it sound like we don't. Oh no, Oregon doesn't have sales tax. No. Well, there's the transient tax with hotels, and there's the road tax with gas, and there's the sin tax with alcohol, where the OLCC makes bank. By the way, it's like them owning all these alcohol distributors, and all they do is just collect money. How does that work exactly? No. That's there's things we got to change here. That's for sure. Um, hey, Miss Venetia, good to see you. So anyway, like I said, when you start looking at all the different people that are running, um, whether it's sheriffs or anything, or even when you get stuff from here, don't be afraid to question it. Don't be afraid to go look up some information, find your people, and find out who they are. And if they don't, usually most of them will have a website or some way to contact them. And you go out there and ask them, why haven't you put information about who you are? Why haven't you been vocal about you're running for that office? Are you afraid someone's going to find something out bad about you? See, that's what makes a lot of these people politicians. And why do people just go ahead and vote for David Brock Smith? They do it because they don't know anything about him. They've seen his name a bunch of times. Go, he was there last time. Okay, done. People aren't really voting for people based on merit or ability or even success in the course of being in office. And this is a problem we are all guilty of. Okay. So I'm not free and clear of that one myself, but I've become much more aware of a lot more candidates. And when you're running for candidate as a candidate for something, oh man, tunnel vision starts to happen. And it's only certain races that you kind of pay attention to what's going on. Like I said, here's something that this is what shocked me the most. Nowhere on here is the U.S. Senate race and endorsement for Jo Ray Perkins is on here. Not at all. They did put her on there when she ran for U.S. Senate last cycle against me in the primary, but not here now in the general. So does that mean that the Taxpayers Association of Oregon and Oregon Watchdog want Ron Wyden back as a U.S. Senator in Congress? If y'all don't see a problem with this, you're not paying attention. So please pay attention. Gosh. What else we got over here? Portland has an art tax. Oh my gosh. And artists, listen, if you have good art, it may be a little easier to sell, but not all art is appealing to everybody. And so whatever money you make, you probably need to keep. We don't need starving artists in Oregon. Hey, Terry, glad you made it. Okay, so let's continue on over here. So did you know that Oregon is one of 16 states that have a law that bans false statements against someone running for public office? I know, but it's rarely ever enforced or even pursued. And the actual statute is Oregon Revised Statute 260.532. Now, there's another statute, ORS 260.665, which is undue influence, includes against a candidate and their candidacy. Now, for me, I have a long list of people that are actually guilty of that Oregon statute, and we have evidence to prove all that. So at some point, I get the right attorney with the right number of defendants with real assets, and we will put that one to the test. But we will also be using this one too, 260.532. Now, part of it reads here, I'll get into a little bit of it. No person shall cause to be written, printed, published, posted, communicated, or circulated any letter, circular, bill, placard, poster, photograph, or other publication, or cause any advertisement to be placed in a publication or singly or with others pay for an advertisement with knowledge or with reckless disregard that the later circular, bill, placard, poster, photograph, publication, or advertisement contains a false statement of material fact relating to any candidate, political committee, or measure. So, for example, when I post something about, say, Betsy Johnson, right? Number one, it better be factual. Pretty simple deal. As long as it's factual, we're good to go. Factual thing for her would be she's on the board of directors for the Federal Reserve Bank Portland branch. Fact. Anybody connected with the Federal Reserve Bank automatically question whether you can trust them or not. I'm sorry, but to me, any connection with the Federal Reserve Bank is highly suspect and very not what I consider a very trustworthy element to that person. Let's see. posting information. That's one of the things that was great about Drazen, Johnson, and Kotek. They all had a voting record, an extensive voting record. And the thing is, that voting record was not complimentary to, especially now, because they're all claiming like the opposite. So I guess the question I would have for this type of law is, what about if you as a person, as a candidate, get up and lie to people about stuff about you, right? I think there should be a law for that. Why not, right? If somebody else can lie about you and you can sue them, well, if you lie about yourself to the people that are going to be voting for you, well, I think that a crime is being committed there too. Yeah. Now we can't say exclusion is a crime. You don't say it, you didn't say it. But if you want to claim something that's not true, like Joanne Hardesty being a honorably discharged from her military background, no, she was not. Yeah, and I saw where Donna Smith came out, big public. Oh, the stolen valor! It's so terrible. It's so awful. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be prosecuted. Stand by, Donis. You might get your wish. Yeah. Mm. Anyway, but it also goes into things like candidacy of the owner, licensed operator of the station or company. So, but like I said, it's not really used or employed. And what you find out is that whenever somebody breaks one of these Oregon statutes, unless it's like somebody busted into your home, causing physical harm, aggravated assault, murder, the police department, the police are just kind of like, well, we don't really enforce that. What do you mean you don't enforce it? If I can give you all the evidence, all the players, everything, and you take one look at it and go, yep, got an open shut case there, but we don't do those things. Then why do we have you? I always thought the job of law enforcement was to enforce the laws. And there is an argument that really statutes are not actually laws. And boy, I'm really on the fence there. Because see, if I broke any of those statutes, oh, I'm sure they'd be stringing me from the highest tree. They wouldn't even think twice. But when it's all the other people, no, it doesn't seem to work that way. So, but it also states that there's a time limit on that law. And under this section, any complaint must be filed not later than the 30th day after the election relating to which a publication or advertisement violation of the section was made. So in other words, you have pretty much till what, December 8th to file any complaint in that regard. Otherwise, that is its statute of limitations. That may be another problem because see, here's the thing: is that in the course of any campaign, usually cash is something you're kind of tight, and you don't generally have a giant fund that's just ready to go for an attorney to go after blood. Doesn't work that way. So my attitude is this: what I can do is I can make a wanted poster with that individual's face on it, with the actual accusations of the actual loss, things they broke, so maybe some evidence that actually supports that. And people will say, well, that's slander. No, it's not. It's factual statement. Just because I don't prosecute or go after somebody in court regarding that doesn't make them any less guilty of committing it, especially when you have hard evidence to support it. You see? So again, don't make them famous, make them infamous, right? Okay. So then, let's see, I kind of went into the Taxpayers Association of Oregon, and I think these numbers are based, it was formed, by the way, in 2000. Very interesting, this PAC, Oregon Watchdog, and it is the Taxpayers Association of Oregon PAC, 501c4. I got a tax ID number and everything. Their revenues for, looks like for 2019, apparently they haven't updated that, $268,000, expenses $244,000, leaves assets of $70,000. That's in 2019. Very interesting. The executive director is a gentleman by the name of Jason Williams, and he is paid back in 2019 just under $54,000 a year. For a nonprofit, that's a pretty good paycheck, considering that's what, 20% of their total revenue for that year. Anybody see a problem with that? That's right. It's called math. 20% of your total revenue goes to your executive director salary. Who else is getting paid there, right? Okay. Now, the Taxpayers Association of Oregon, Their aim is to expose and stop government waste, fraud, and abuse, save taxpayer dollars. And they claim that the money wasted on needless government spending could be better used to support schools, police departments, and other public services. To this end, the Taxpayers Association of Oregon maintains a page on its website cataloging what it deems government waste. Now, in past years, the Taxpayers Association of Oregon has exposed food stamp abuse, significant increases in fees for auto sales, registration, and titles. However, they've exposed it. Well, what did you do to fix it? Right? For example, have you registered your vehicle lately? Yeah, that's going up too. And they base it on everything from how many wheels you got to what kind of mileage you get in your car. And the better your mileage, the more you pay. What? Huh. The funding for vacant state employee positions. Man. So anyway, they do advocate for lowering taxes in Oregon. However, I have seen them to be absolutely zero effectiveness in their efforts. Yeah. We are in the top 10 of high tax states. And the Taxpayer Association of Oregon has been grossly ineffective. Maybe it has to do with the people that are trying to get elected, right? Bunch of squishes. Yeah, not good. They say that they've been successful stopping local taxes in some areas, including a local sales tax in Hood River County. Yeah, see, that's kind of low-hanging fruit. Local income taxes in Eugene, local cell phone taxes in Portland. Okay, good for you. Was it only because of the card you put out or something else you did? Maybe Oregon Catalyst with one of their stories helped you out with that. Now, they did play a pretty key role in defeating Measure 28 in 2003, which would have increased income tax by 1% statewide. And in repealing Measure 30 in 2004, that included a $600 million income tax surcharge. So in 2022, the Taxpayer Association of Oregon advocated against Measure 13-133 in Beaverton, which would approve a $790 million school bond with a property tax increase of 25 cents per $1,000 of assessed value. They claim that the school bond is priced almost double the average cost of building a school, which would have increased the Beaverton Public School property tax, and contains a highly questionable $50 million management fund. Well, they don't seem to have a problem with their own 20% they pay to their executive director CEO guy. And they also apparently point out that school enrollment is decreasing and that Oregon residents already pay higher than average property taxes. Well, duh. We all know this. This is common knowledge for all of us at this point. And I guess for Jason Williams, if I had to measure his success in reducing taxes for Oregon taxpayers, he falls way short. I wouldn't even give him a passing grade, that's for sure. Now, Jason Williams is the executive director and co-founder of the Taxpayers Association of Oregon, and Tom Butler is the president of Taxpayers Association of Oregon. He was also a former Republican Oregon state representative. Brendan N. O'Scanlane is the treasurer of the board and formerly worked as an editorial assistant for Policy Review magazine at the Heritage Foundation. Now, if the top guy, Jason Williams, is making 53, almost 54 grand a year, 20%, I wonder what Tom Butler and Brendan are making. Treasurers don't generally work for free. And they're on kind of a retainer deal probably. And with Tom Butler as the president, yeah, again, we're back to how much money are they raking in out of that? So potentially, if we stick to that, say 20% average, those other two guys say 15%, we could be talking between 40 and 50% of the gross proceeds into that organization being dispersed on just payroll. How is that even a successful nonprofit? The March of Dimes, only a dime of every dollar goes to the actual deal. And that's one way they measure nonprofits, is by how much money actually goes to the nonprofit, not payroll and all the stuff that they don't really need. Just another thing you now know. There's also Eric Fruits. He's the vice president of research at the Cascade Policy Institute, and other board members include Craig Flynn, uh, Secretary Barbara Cans, and Bill Schaub. And believe you me, I'll be paying attention to these names and looking them up and getting some more detailed information. Now, something else I wanted to talk to you all about was there's a current article, editorial, published on a gentleman by Bob Zyback, I believe, 10-year plus series for Oregon Fish and Wildlife Journal. And the topic is the direct relationship between federal endangered species regulations, environmental lawsuits, and the predictable forest wildfires, rural unemployment, wildlife mortality, air pollution, and great cost to taxpayers that follow. So the conclusions. And it said there's no evidence that HCPs have had any positive effect on targeted spotted owl, marbled murrelet, or coho populations in Western Oregon over the past 35 years. There's documented proof that the adoption of passive approaches to forest management greatly increases accumulation of ground fuels, ladder fuels, and canopy closures, and thereby lead to greater likelihoods of deadly, major, catastrophic scale wildfires. Boy, I'm liking this guy already. He's just stating what we kind of all know, but he's put it together. So anyway, he further went on to say attempts to affect targeted wildlife species by creating wilderness areas, riparian reserves, LSRs, HCPs, and computerized critical habitat models in Western Oregon during the past 35 years have been at the great cost of billions of dollars, tens of thousands of lost rural jobs, hundreds of thousands of burned forest acreage, thousands of lost homes, millions of killed wildlife, extended episodes of major air and water pollution, and losses of human life. Last quote from him: there is no evidence that these massive investments have resulted in a single additional owl, murrelet, or salmon. See, guys, these environmentalists are not environmentalists. They are opportunists. Any way for them to get free money, they're all over that. And when you have elements like the Sierra Club, I used to think the Sierra Club was actually a good organization. But what I learned is no, they're not. They're still collecting money on any kind of lawsuit they possibly can generate. And then the real question is, what do they do with their money? So you never hear about that. Same thing with PETA. What do they do with their money? Are they really saving animals? No, not really. And that's another organization don't give money to, PETA or the Sierra Club or Oregon Wild, who I think is mostly financed by other entities. So there's a really cool chart. I'm going to have to, I think I got the link. Yeah, I think I do. Cool. This is a good chart to take a look at. And let me just throw that in here real quick. And this kind of shows a bit on how the timber harvest had been from 1950 all the way to 2022. And oh my gosh, it is phenomenal. They're so worried about us cutting down trees. Like, what's funny is on the East Coast, people over there literally thought here in Oregon we were about to cut down our last tree. Oh yeah, we only had like one left, and we had to save that tree. And then they see pictures of Oregon and go, you guys have huge forests. What's the deal? Yeah. Again, perception. Until people see it for themselves, they have no clue. And so a big part of our job is to educate people. Let's see. That's kind of interesting to my hometown stuff, but we'll get back to that here in a minute. Let's see. What else do we have over here? Yeah, Shanna, we do have Michael Stetler for U.S. Senate. He is a write-in candidate. And let me tell you something about Michael Stetler. If he ever had the opportunity to debate Wyden, Joey Perkins, and anybody else on stage in regard to the role of a U.S. Senator for Oregon, they would leave the stage. They'd be too embarrassed to open their mouths. It's truth. Tremendous insight, tremendous knowledge, and somebody who will hold the line and not allow himself to be compromised. But I'm really surprised not seeing Joey Perkins on here. They've put her on there before. not this time, which tells me they're in the bag for Ron Wyden. And do you support any organization that gives a free pass to Ron Wyden? I don't. Keep it in mind, guys. We like to think there are friends or people working on our behalf, but there's obviously elements there that are still not. And that's disappointing, I know, but it's just our reality. Let's see. What else do we have? That's really kind of, yeah. Other good news out here. Okay. So apparently there's people out there that really think we all fully buy into the whole climate change garbage, right? And here in Oregon, we're enjoying a nice fall. This is pretty normal for a fall. I'm expecting a little bit more rain, but it'll come. And they're all, climate change is the number one thing on the minds of many Oregonians this month. No, I'll tell you what's on their mind: inflation, jobs, being able to afford where they live, their taxes, the fact that the state of Oregon and the people that we've put in office have literally made it harder for us to actually live. And that is just fact, just what's happened. And they insist that no, it's about equality and equity. No, it's about equity, not equality. They're not concerned about equality. They're concerned about equity. And that equity is really redistribution of wealth. They claim they're trying to be fair to everybody when they're only being fair to a group of people, small group usually. They're also the ones that cry the loudest. So at some point, we're going to have to take that baby and spank it. Just granted, it's going to be that baby's going to range in age from 22 to 38. That's a big baby. Let's see. So the three leading candidates for governor disagree sharply on what role the state government should play in reducing the carbon emissions they're driving extreme weather and contributing to an overall rise in temperatures. There's none of that is, oh my gosh. Extreme weather? No, we have weather. In Oregon, we actually enjoy all four seasons, and it is totally normal, but they're trying to claim it's extreme. Extreme is when we get like Snowmageddon. That was extreme, but you know what? We were due for it. We get those 50-year storms, 50-year snowstorms. It happens. And for them to act like it's some big surprise is just tells you how stupid these people are. But again, they're just trying to come up with any reason they can to justify all the other things they want to charge us for. And the idea of contributing to the overall rise in temperatures. What temperatures? There's no correlation to anything we're doing in this state to the rise in temperatures anywhere. And to be honest, it is a pattern that, well, it's the normal pattern of this planet. Now, Democrat Tina Kotek, she served as a state house speaker and helped pass several laws aimed at reining in the state's carbon emissions, including a 2016 law that requires the state to phase out coal from its energy supply by 2035. The problem is they phased out coal like last year, maybe the year before that. Well, let's see, 2020, 2035. That's about a 35-year difference. So in 35 years, they just killed all coal energy production right here in the state. Okay. And and they also wanted to and double the amount of renewable power it uses by 2040. Renewable power. What does that mean? See, renewable is one of those key words they misuse. To me, renewable is if you have a hydrogen engine, you put water into it, and it breaks up the hydrogen or oxygen. It recombines it, creates power, comes out the exhaust. That water that comes back out gets pumped back into the tank. That would be pretty renewable, right? Because you can just keep using it. That's renewable. Solar power, solar panels, wind power, big windmills. If you haven't seen some of those videos, go look at them. You're going to be amazed at the destruction of those, what these windmills do. There's a reason they're out in the middle of nowhere next to nobody. They're actually quite dangerous, and they make a lot of noise. So again, now she wants to continue reducing Oregon's heat trapping pollution by supporting reductions in the use of natural gas and spending more to boost electric vehicle adoption and usage of mass transit. Okay, Prineville, Oregon, are you guys ready for mass transit? Yeah, I didn't think so. Are you all ready to give up your cars? I didn't think so either. Yeah. Again, these are people talking out of their backsides about something they obviously know little about, or they're going to benefit from spending all this money, which actually both of those could be true at the same time. And with natural gas, how much natural gas do we actually use here in Oregon? Not as much as you think. There should be a whole lot more natural gas being used. But here's the question: methane, cow farts, your neighbor's farts, whatever. Um, what happens when methane goes into the atmosphere? Let me tell you what happens. Actually bumps into other things in our atmosphere and it gets converted into carbon dioxide. I know, crazy thing, right? So here's the thing: we need carbon dioxide for plants and for everything else. We actually have machines that burn propane, that burn natural gas to create more carbon dioxide for the plants and the crops. Everything is better. Plants grow better with more carbon dioxide. And the little bit that we create is negligible. And to cut it all out means killing off the entire population of planet Earth. That's just how stupid these people are. Okay. And the idea that the carbon captured, a tree that falls down in the woods, somehow that's a much better deal. The problem is that when a tree is cut down into wood, it stays in wood until it gets destroyed in some capacity. But it's used in particle board, strand board, construction, all kinds of that still keeps that carbon captured. Where a forest fire that kills the tree, maybe burns it completely, that releases it. And then when it falls down, the one part that doesn't get totally destroyed, then that has to go through a decomposition process. And that takes up all kinds of other energy, nitrogen in the soil that's good for new growth, but it goes to decay first. And then you finally get that carbon released. But it does get released, where the timber, the lumber in your house, does not, unless you burn your house down. So their arguments don't make any sense. Now, Republican Christine Drazen, she was a former House Republican leader because nobody else wanted the job. And then there's unaffiliated candidate Betsy Johnson, who wants to claim she's unaffiliated. She's been a Democrat for 20 years, going along, getting along with all of them. Don't for a second think she's the choice. She's not. She's a former longtime Democratic state lawmaker, and they both oppose the climate laws passed by Oregon Democrats in recent years. Well, there's a surprise. They actually helped pass a number of when they took the new Green Deal and broke it up into 4 parts. They were involved in that. They were involved in passing that. Now, the one thing they can't say is that they helped pass any cap and trade. The governor of Oregon, Kate Brown, she just did an executive order and made cap and trade, boom, into existence, which she can't do that. So the good news is, as governor, I can kill that. So, Johnson was one of the 3 state Democrats who actually opposed the 2019 cap and trade bill aimed at curtailing the state's carbon emissions. See, Oregon has the lowest carbon footprint on the planet, 0.002, even when they let our forests burn. So it's all a big lie. And it's all about this. It's also about letting China come in and buy up more of our land for free as everybody else is leaving Oregon. Keep that in mind. Let's see. The cap trade proposals faced fierce opposition from Oregon timber mills and other manufacturers that would have faced higher energy costs under the plan, along with truckers. And they both, Drazen and Johnson on the campaign trail, said that they would tear up Democrat Governor Kate Brown's 2020 executive order directing state agencies to develop policies to aggressively reduce greenhouse emissions. Well, Lottie frickin' da. What did you do while you were in legislature? Did you guys raise a big alarm? Did you yell, scream, and holler at the top of your lungs to tell the public what's going on? To maybe get the public to recall the idiots in the legislature that were voting for this stuff? No. Listen, guys, these are not even 2-dimensional people. We cannot afford 2-dimensional politicians in office. We need 3-dimensional project managers. That's what we need. And that has become painfully obvious with everything that's happened here. They're talking about how tailpipe emissions from cars and trucks are Oregon's largest source of greenhouse gas pollution. First of all, carbon dioxide is not greenhouse gas. Carbon monoxide is the incomplete burning of gasoline. If you completely burn gasoline, you get water, H2O, and carbon dioxide. But because of the burning process is totally complete, all that efficient, you end up with water, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide. Okay. And do you see any black clouds of death hanging over the cities anywhere in Oregon? Even Portland, Salem, Eugene? No, you don't. Go to Los Angeles before they've had a nice storm and wind blow everything out of there. Oh, dear Lord, it can be terrible in there. And that's due to all the excess emissions from the vehicles. But can we get rid of that? No, not really. Until we have hovercraft, spaceships that operate on, I don't know, electricity they pull from the air. Until we have that, these guys are really dreaming. And the thing is, they're not even smart enough to say, create that spaceship. So do we really need to be trusting them on any of this stuff? The answer is no, without a doubt, no. And of course, the Oregonian asked Drazen, Kotek, and Johnson how they would tackle climate change as governor. Now, see, I'm going to give you my answer first. Number one, the climate change that exists cannot be affected by anybody on this earth, any amount of the people on this earth, or any amount of money you throw at it. Cannot. Whatever is going to be is inevitable. And we are not even a flea on a dog's back in that regard. So to even make the claim there's climate change when, global cooling, global warming, none of that worked. All that fell through. Well, guess what? Climate change has fallen through too. Now, both Drazen and Johnson said they've approached the problem by encouraging more aggressive management of forests, including thinning to reduce the risk of wildfires, and touted the state's timber industry as sequestering significant carbon in tree farms. Well, anytime you have any forest that gets burned, or you're cleaning up a forested area, thinning out trees, that's always a smart thing. Planting new trees where you've taken trees out. These are just the responsible things we do to manage our forests. And yes, we used to do that. Now they just let them burn down. And supposedly they plant some trees. I haven't seen it. I hear them talking about it, but I haven't seen it. Now, carbon emissions from wildfires account for a fraction of the amount emitted by vehicles, and researchers have determined that most of Oregon's forest-related emissions result from tree harvest, not wildfires. That is a lie, okay? Apparently, the Oregonian and Oregon Live like to report lies. Wildfires, a fraction. Apparently, they've not been around when we've had the worst wildfires in the state over how many hundreds of thousands of acres. Now, I've been in the Ochoas when there's been fires. I've been up on Allen Creek Reservoir overlooking, Big Summit Prairie. And the smoke was so bad, but for whatever reason, we were higher enough up, we were actually above the smoke. So you couldn't even really see the mountains and stuff around us. But we at least had fresh air. So that was kind of nice. But the idea that our vehicles put out more bad stuff than the fires, no. And the thing is, guys, like I said, the forest fires, the carbon dioxide they release, plants need it. They grow with it. Without it, they don't. And then they also went on to make a claim that Oregonians are increasingly feeling the effects of climate change, from more extreme weather events to drought and wildfires. Okay, we've had wildfires since I was a kid here in Oregon. And as far as drought, we've had drought. But however, currently that drought is being compounded by the Bureau of Reclamation. And their moronic attitude about rinsing the rivers by releasing more reservoir water and not giving any of that water to farmers or ranchers. That's the truth. That's what's going on. Again, no. Let's see. Drazen made a comment. From hydropower to the incredible carbon sequestration power of our natural resources industries, Oregon always has and will continue to be a leader when it comes to the environment. Not if we keep burning it to the ground. She also said that the state's role should be to help communities respond to changing conditions on the ground, not to levy new taxes on working people and small business. Well, I got to admit, I do agree with what she said there. That's okay, but it's still kind of fluff on the front end. And then she further said we must invest in water infrastructure to address chronic drought and promote active forest management to reduce the frequency and intensity of wildfires. What's funny is these guys, they talk about this stuff like we've never done this before. Like somehow they got to reinvent a new mousetrap to fix this problem. No, the truth is we have done this before. And it really didn't cost us much of anything at all. It would actually cost us less than all the amount that we spend on firefighting, which seems like they don't really fight many fires. Now, Tina Kotek made a statement. I'm the only candidate for governor committed to transitioning to a clean energy economy. So that sounds so wonderful. The fact is, she's an idiot. When it comes to this type of stuff, she doesn't know what clean energy is. Doesn't have a clue. And then she went on to say that one that provides clean, renewable energy grows jobs and helps fight the effects of climate change. And she further says, I will work to decrease population. Oh, I'm sorry. Further work to decrease pollution from transportation by increasing the use of zero emission vehicles and increasing investments in public transportation. Again, she's going to make this unilateral decision to make us all go use public transit. This is not Russia. This is not communist China. We decide. Then she further said that she'll work to transition Oregon away from fossil fuels like methane gas. Okay, question. How many of you are using methane gas to heat your homes, drive your vehicles? Anybody? Raise your hand. Is she really that dense? I mean, I got to admit, the only degree she has is a bachelor's and a master's in religious studies. And I don't think religious studies teaches much about oil, gas, and energy at all. So I don't see that. She also stated that she'd work with the federal partners to maximize the progress Oregon can make from the federal investments in clean energy, such as building out electric vehicle charging stations along highways, investing in cleaner buses and trucks. I got news for you. Such stations should not be built by the state. They should not be installed by the state or operated run by the state. There's a private enterprise, no different than a gas station. And I got to admit, I think it'd be great to have more of these charging stations. However, I will caution the fact that if every one of us could actually afford a brand new electric vehicle that could do the job we needed it to do, there would not be enough power in this state to charge them. Not even close. Matter of fact, you would have a choice pretty much throughout the state to either charge your vehicle or probably operate your house. It would come to that point because see, they've been killing off the legitimate energy sources we have. They're trying to kill off our hydropower. They already killed off our coal fire plant, which was so efficient and so clean. And did they replace that energy source from within Oregon? No. They had to get more power from out of state. Johnson made a statement. She said that climate change is real, but often the proposed solutions for the far left have not been asking those at the economic margins, rural Oregonians and struggling businesses to pay disproportionately for the changes they seek. She said, I will lead the climate fight with common sense solutions, better forest management, green energy, and greater innovation in emission-reducing technologies. My first observation there, Betsy Johnson, is you are an idiot, and you are speaking about things you have obviously no clue about. None of these things are going to work. They haven't been working already. She claims that she'll put Oregonians to work in the woods to better manage our forests with thinning, controlled burns, and sustainable forestry practices. Well, why didn't you do that in the 20 years you were in the legislature? Did I hear you screaming this during that whole time? You basically been in there, the almost a big part of the time that the spotted owl killed. No, actually, almost all that time. 20 years? 20 years in the legislature, and now you're going to talk about it? Okay. See, that's not leadership, guys. She also said that she'll continue pushing Oregon into a green energy future, including protecting the 100% carbon-free hydro that provides roughly 50% of electricity needs. Wow. So she doesn't want to take out the dams, but she's letting them take out other dams. Again, guys, who do you trust? What do you trust? We have seen so many people running for office, and for myself, just to let you know, those that were the small band that was against me for whatever reason they had or claimed, nothing they claimed was true. And at no point did they offer any any evidence or proof to what they claimed, ever, not once. Okay, and now they're all quiet because see they've effectively done what they wanted to do. Their goal was to just keep me off the ballot, and all those people, credit where credit's due. That's only fair, right? They think they can just fade off into the sunset and not suffer any consequences of their actions. I'm going to make sure Oregon knows who's responsible, what they did, because that's how it should be. If I'm going to speak out against the candidate, I'm going to know about the candidate. I'm going to have truth to speak. It's not about attacking them personally. I mean, Alex Scarlatos, gosh, you've heard the things I've been talking about him. The crazy part is they're true. And yet, they're doing as much spin as they can, somehow putting the blame on the opposite sex. Imagine that. I don't know, people. We got to find some way to say it. Oh, Jim Howard. Jim Howard used to be part of the school. He was big time in favor of the school union, school teachers union, and not somebody I would vote for. Sorry. The more I've learned about him, I'm not going to vote for him. No. HARP. Yes, high altitude radio program run by the U.S. Navy. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that system, and at least in the capacity of what it was used for when I was active duty Navy, it had a lot to do with submarine communications. How to communicate with a submarine when it's still underwater, so it doesn't have to pop up surface to receive signals from a outside antenna and then go back down. Because anytime you got to move a submarine, that makes it more easily to identify it, locate it. And we don't want submarines located. We want them to go out, sneak around, set down, and patiently wait, just in case. Hey, Captain Morgan, did you see that picture? That was last year's costume. I still have that costume, but yeah, Lorelei, the only windmills I like are the small ones, the ones that are maybe, at the biggest 6 feet across or so. It's usually on a farm, used for pumping water, but it can be used for a lot of things, especially on the small level for a single home. And they don't make so much noise that they bother anybody. All right, Mr. Wilson, you have a good night. Thank you for being here. And same with you, Pat. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Keep talking to people about voting. Get them to write some candidates in. Michael Stetler for U.S. Senate, myself for governor. And if you have any questions, you guys know how to get a hold of me. We're just trying to keep getting information out and talk to as many people as we can. We got a bunch of signs out and for write-in Paul Romero. And a big thank you to Shanna and Tom Stillion out of Coos Bay and Miss Jennifer Wetstein in Tillamook. Really appreciate the efforts you guys have made to help, along with a whole lot of other people. And, we have plans for some really big things coming up. Okay. And with all the wonderful people that'll be involved in that, oh, yes, we can save Oregon. We can recover Oregon. And we're going to do it now. We will start working as soon as this November election is done, because there are people that are in office or will be in office that should be recalled, that should be removed. And we're going to go with an all-out effort in that regard, whether it's county commissioners or district legislators. It's just what we have to do. Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that. And like I said, and by the way, guys, when you look in the mirror in the morning, you're brushing your teeth, can you see yourself representing Oregon, your city, your county, your state? Maybe you can. And what I look for is people that have a really pretty good life record, life history, a little bit of education, the ability to relate to people, communicate with people. And by the way, a lot of these skills can be learned. And we have a way to kind of help people shorten the learning curve and be comfortable in front of the camera, right? It's no, Venetia, I'm sorry. I do not have any bumper stickers for write-in Paul Romero. I wish I did. I wish I could afford them. But it's not as hard as you think. And when you're being real and genuine, it's really pretty easy. Uh, you're not really trying to overly impress anybody. You're just trying to share information. Maybe put your little spin on it. Try to be a little entertaining. But no matter what, being yourself is being yourself. Doesn't matter what you do. So when y'all meet me in person, people who have met me in person, you know that when I'm on here, it's the same guy. Doesn't change. And that's how it's going to be. People in Portland and Multnomah County. I do have people that are up there, and they're doing what they can up there. But as you know, everything's been kind of limited. One thing about not actually being on the ballot is that the funds you line up, pending you being on the ballot, well, they dry up really fast. And it's unfortunate that people have that mentality, and it's one that we're going to overcome in time. But this is the start of that. It's a matter of putting good candidates and uh, good platforms together that actually represent the people. And as they see that, they recognize it, they wake up, they figure it out. So starting in November, and maybe we'll wait till January, give a little bit of a break. But we'll be going out and building our own pack, and we'll be communicating with every business in Oregon, every person in Oregon, and start building those funds to actually help candidates throughout the state. I see this as a chance for we the people to have one group that represents everybody and do it in such a way that we stay on the Constitution, we stick to the sport of the contract with Oregon, and find good, decent Oregonians to step up and help us win this fight. That's what we're gonna do. All right. So anyway, it is like 7:30. My time is up here. Y'all have a great night, and never give up, never surrender. Get your ballots in on election day, November 8th. Try not to do it sooner if you can help it. And get your friends and family to vote. No vote, you can't complain. And right now here in Oregon, unfortunately, I'm going to vote. I'm going to probably be doing some complaining too. So anyway, good night, all of you. God bless, and take care of those families. And we'll see you soon. We'll see you Wednesday.